Gino.
I'm Erin.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I think the women are finding me pretty sexy. I knew meeting women in person would probably be difficult, but how did this all end up in such a disaster?
The marriage blows up, Jasmine moves on, and somehow Gino walks away telling the world he was the wounded hero in the story. He says he was beaten down. He says he gave everything. He says he never saw it coming. And yet, if you watch the chaos unfold on 90 Day Fiancé, you know the truth was never that simple. And this is where the story starts twisting in a way he doesn't see coming. Their relationship was loud, messy, and full of public fights. Trust issues on repeat, jealousy spirals, private arguments turning into camera moments, and when it finally collapsed, Gino framed it like betrayal came out of nowhere. According to him, Jasmine met some random guy, cheated, got pregnant, end of story. Clean, simple, victim secured. But viewers remember more than that. We saw permission conversations. We saw lies exposed. We saw secrets revealed at the worst possible times. So when Gino tells it now, he edits himself into the innocent one. That selective memory is doing heavy lifting. Because if you rewrite the past well enough, you don't have to fix yourself in the present. And that's where the rebrand begins. Post-separation, Gino enters what I call his comeback era. Gym selfies. Spin class energy. New routine. He talks about getting back in shape like he's preparing for a movie montage. He says he wants young, beautiful, single ladies. He says it with full confidence. Chest out. Shoulders back. Like he's auditioning for a dating show inside a dating show. On screen, he's sweating through spin class while women cheer him on. He interprets encouragement as attraction. Someone says good job, he hears desire. Someone smiles politely, he hears chemistry. And I get it. After a public breakup, you want proof you still have it. You want validation. We all do. But there's a difference between rebuilding confidence and inflating it to avoid reflection. And the gap between how he sees himself and how the room sees him is about to get uncomfortable. Here's the interesting part. Confidence is attractive when it's grounded, when it's earned, when it comes from growth. But Gino's version feels like a costume. The gym becomes proof he's evolved. The sweat becomes evidence he's changed. Except, working out doesn't fix communication habits. Cardio doesn't rebuild trust patterns. Spin class does not equal emotional maturity. And still, he talks like he cracked the code. Like the problem was Jasmine's attitude. Like the solution is tighter shirts and better lighting. You can see the optimism building. He smiles more. He flirts awkwardly. He believes the glow-up is complete. But let me ask you something. If nothing internal shifts, what exactly is different? Because what looks like a comeback might be the same cycle wearing new sneakers. And the audience feels it. There's a tension building under the jokes, a sense that he's walking into something bigger than he realizes. The overconfidence starts peaking. The self-belief gets louder. He genuinely thinks the dating world is about to welcome him back with open arms. He says he hasn't approached a woman in person in decades. Decades. And instead of easing in quietly, he signs up for a full-blown singles event. Group setting. High pressure, real conversations, no filters, no DMs, no editing. You can almost feel the storm forming. Confidence at maximum level, self-awareness at minimum. Public setting, freshly separated, still legally married, and zero rehearsal for how to explain that smoothly. This is the calm before the cringe. He thinks he's stepping into his redemption arc. But the singles event is coming, and this is where the illusion starts cracking in real time. He walks into the singles event like a man who thinks he already won. Fresh gym energy, slight swagger, smile locked in. You can tell he believes this is his comeback scene. Cameras rolling, music playing in his head, ego fully charged. And this is the exact moment where confidence starts drifting into delusion. At first, it looks harmless. He introduces himself. Women respond politely. They smile. They ask basic questions, normal human interaction. But inside Gino's mind, something else is happening. A woman says nice to meet you, and he hears electric chemistry. Someone laughs out of courtesy, and he logs it as attraction. Encouragement during a group activity becomes validation of desirability. And here's the part that makes you shift in your seat. He genuinely says he thinks the women are finding him sexy. Out loud. With conviction. You can almost see the narrative building in his head. Gym results paying off. Energy magnetic. Comeback confirmed. Except the room does not match his internal storyline. They're being kind. They're being social. They're participating in an event designed for interaction. Politeness is not passion. A smile is not a signal. But he treats every neutral cue as romantic interest. And when you mistake basic courtesy for desire, reality is about to correct you. Then comes the question that changes the temperature in the room. How long have you been divorced? Simple question. Straightforward. Expected at a singles event. And he answers. He says he is not divorced yet. He says he is still married, but separated. Watch the energy shift. It's subtle, but it's there. The body language tightens, smiles thin out. Follow-up questions get sharper. The vibe moves from curiosity to caution in seconds. Because no matter how you frame it, still married at a singles event raises eyebrows. And this is where you see something interesting. Instead of owning the awkwardness, he doubles down on the victim story. He explains Jasmine cheated. He describes betrayal. He frames himself as blindsided. He brings up pregnancy, public humiliation, emotional pain, all within minutes of meeting strangers. And instead of creating sympathy, it creates distance. There is a difference between honesty and oversharing, between vulnerability and trauma dumping. These women did not ask for a full documentary, they asked a timeline question. But he turns it into a courtroom statement. Psychologically, this tells you something. When someone leads with their victim narrative in a first impression moment, they are trying to control perception. If I tell you how I was wronged, you will side with me. If I establish pain first, you won't question my role in the breakdown. But here's the uncomfortable truth. If every story ends with you as the innocent party, growth never enters the chat. And this is the midpoint shift. Up until now, it's been funny, cringe, light roast material. But pause for a second. Strip away the sarcasm. What if this isn't ego? What if this is fear? Fear of being alone. Fear of fading relevance. Fear that without a partner, he has no identity anchor. Because watch how fast he clings to attention. Watch how quickly he tries to secure validation. Watch how aggressively he reframes rejection as misunderstanding. Confidence built on fear looks loud, but it shakes under pressure. The women start pushing back gently. They ask more direct questions. They sense gaps in the story. One even says she doesn't fully trust the situation. And instead of adjusting, he seems confused, like he cannot compute why this isn't landing. This is where the psychology locks in. He confuses attention with attraction, interaction with intimacy, sympathy with compatibility. And when the reaction isn't what he expected, he looks blindsided again. It mirrors his marriage breakdown. Same pattern. Externalize blame. Miss internal signals. Repeat. And the worst part? He doesn't see the repetition. The conversation fizzles. The energy dies. Laughter turns awkward. He looks smaller walking away than when he walked in. You can see the embarrassment hit. The rebrand cracks. The gym glow cannot protect him here. For a brief second, there's silence in his expression, a flash of realization. This didn't go the way he imagined. But here's the twist. Instead of processing what happened, he pivots. He tells himself in person dating is harder than expected. He frames the night as bad luck, wrong crowd, wrong vibe, timing off. And then he says something telling. He has other options: online attention, DMs, messages, women sliding into his inbox. So he leaves the event embarrassed but not defeated in his mind. He replaces rejection with a digital fantasy before reflection can begin. And if the singles event exposed the gap between who he thinks he is and how others see him, what happens when that gap gets fed instead of challenged? The night ends with awkward smiles and polite exits, but by the next scene, Gino sounds reborn. The singles event may have bruised his ego, yet suddenly he is glowing again. Why? Because now he says women are sliding into his DMs. Plural, energy restored, confidence rebooted. And when validation moves from real life to a screen, the story takes a sharp turn. He talks about notifications like they are proof, messages popping up, comments on posts, reactions to selfies. He sounds proud, almost relieved. The rejection in that room, forgotten, replaced by digital applause. But let's slow this down. Online attention is tricky. A like is not loyalty, a fire emoji is not commitment, a random message is not a relationship. Social media runs on engagement, not intimacy. And when someone just faced public rejection, the timing of this online surge feels convenient. Is it possible some of these messages are genuine? Sure. Public figures get attention. Curiosity follows controversy. But here's the part that raises eyebrows. He presents it as romantic interest, as if every notification equals desire, as if algorithms are cupids. And you have to ask, what feels safer? Approaching women face to face and risking visible rejection, or scrolling through messages where you control the narrative? Because digital validation lets you edit reality before reality edits you. Notice the pattern. In person, when the room shifts and the questions get hard, he looks uncomfortable. Online, he's confident again. He chooses photos carefully, he controls angles, he decides what story to tell. No one interrupts him mid-sentence, no one challenges the timeline. It's curated attention. This mirrors what we saw before. When conflict hits in real life, retreat. When accountability knocks, redirect. The singles event required presence. DMs require performance. And performance is easier. There's also something psychological happening. After rejection, the brain looks for quick relief. A message notification provides that. A stranger's compliment acts like proof you are still wanted. It soothes, it distracts, it delays reflection. But distraction is not growth. He even credits his improved social media strategy, better pictures, smarter posts, more thought behind what he shares. He speaks like he cracked a formula. Except the formula seems to be external validation equals internal stability. And if you rely on strangers online to confirm your worth, what happens when the messages slow down? Because attention built on curiosity fades fast when curiosity moves on. Still, he sounds convinced this proves the singles event meant nothing. Those women did not see his value. The internet does. That's the storyline he's building. But then, something unexpected happens. Among the notifications and comments, a familiar name resurfaces. Not a stranger, not a random account. Natalie. The same Natalie who walked away from the drama before. The same Natalie who witnessed chaos up close. The same Natalie who saw behind the curtain. And suddenly, the DMs aren't just ego fuel anymore. They become a doorway back into unfinished business. Natalie is not some random new match. She is history. And not the soft, romantic kind, the complicated kind, the kind with receipts. You remember Cousin Dana's birthday party, tension in the room, Jasmine showing up, arguments exploding in front of everyone, Natalie standing there, realizing she stepped into a storm she did not create. That night did not end in romance. It ended in distance. Back then, Natalie pulled away for a reason. Trust was cracked. Promises did not line up with actions. He told her Jasmine was out of the picture, yet somehow Jasmine was still in the orbit. That contradiction did damage. So when Natalie stopped engaging, it made sense. Fast forward. After months of silence, they reconnect at the tell-all. Polite exchanges, a few texts, casual check-ins. Nothing dramatic on screen, nothing intense. Small talk. And somehow, in Gino's mind, small talk equals second chance. This is where the pattern tightens. A few messages turn into possibility. A friendly response turns into interest. An invitation to meet becomes romantic momentum. He fills in the blanks with hope. He starts packing for a visit. New clothes, fresh underwear, grooming details he proudly shares on camera. The energy feels like a man preparing for a honeymoon, not a cautious reunion. And when preparation jumps ahead of reality, expectation starts racing past facts. There is confidence in his tone. He believes this time will be different. He believes he has learned enough. He believes Natalie sees something new in him. But pause. What evidence do we have of growth? Did he address the trust issue directly? Did he acknowledge how his choices put her in uncomfortable positions? On screen, we do not see that conversation. We see optimism. And optimism without accountability turns into projection. He projects desire onto her actions. He projects chemistry onto basic friendliness. He even talks about not needing the blue pills this time, linking his past intimacy struggles to Jasmine's attitude. That is a bold claim. It suggests the issue was external, not internal. Again, the same theme surfaces. If the environment changes, everything improves. No self-work required. This is fantasy building in real time. Access becomes intimacy in his mind. Texting becomes emotional closeness. A coffee plan becomes a relationship revival. But Natalie's body language in past interactions tells a different story. She has been cautious, measured, observant. She is not naive to the chaos. That emotional contrast is key. He believes this is redemption. The audience senses repetition. He sees a fresh chapter. We see unresolved patterns. There is something human here, though. After a breakup, people look for familiarity. Someone who already knows your story feels safer than starting from zero. Reconnecting with Natalie saves him from facing total solitude. It gives him a narrative of being chosen again. But being invited to meet is not the same as being forgiven. A coffee is not a commitment. Access is not trust. And now the stakes rise. He lands. He heads to meet her at a tea shop near her office. Neutral ground, daytime. Public setting. Not exactly the backdrop of instant romance. His nerves show. His hope is loud. He says he hopes he does not mess this up. For the first time, there is a flicker of awareness. Because if this reunion mirrors the singles event, the illusion collapses again. And this time, it is not strangers watching. It is someone who already knows his patterns. He waits. She walks in. And the real test begins. When you line up every scene side by side, the pattern stops looking accidental. Separation from Jasmine framed as betrayal. Gym era framed as transformation. Singles event framed as bad luck. DMs framed as proof of desirability. Natalie framed as destiny returning. The storyline keeps changing, but the core stays the same. He is the victim. The world misunderstands him. The next woman will fix what the last one broke. And if nothing inside shifts, the same ending waits at the door. Think about the upgrades he focused on. New routine, new photos, new clothes, confident posture, travel plans, all external. None of those address trust. None of those address communication. None of those address why multiple relationships collapse under similar pressure. At some point, the common denominator matters. If he repeats this cycle with Natalie, what happens next? Another misunderstanding, another public argument, another explanation where he was blindsided. The pattern does not need a villain to continue. It only needs avoidance. And let me ask you something directly. Would you trust someone who shows up to a singles event still legally married? Would you feel secure dating someone who leads with their ex's betrayal before mentioning their own role? Attraction fades fast when accountability is missing. This is not about mocking him. This is about observing behavior. Growth demands reflection. Reflection demands discomfort. So far, discomfort gets replaced with distraction. Now the stakes rise. Natalie has already seen the cracks once. She walked away before. If she senses the same projection, the same narrative control, the same external blame, this reunion will not end quietly. The previews hint at tension. Her tone shifts. His defensiveness creeps back. History feels close enough to touch. And the next episode might show whether this is redemption or repetition, because Natalie's reaction this time looks different, and what she says next may change everything.